Welcome back to the Money Gains podcast. This is how to turn your passions and skills that you already have into a money-making machine. We're joined by a very special guest today. His name is Ben Alistor. Ben, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Very well. Very, very well. Thank you for having me.
I bumped into you first at the Creator Space event at Champneys. It's the first time I met you, but probably been watching you online for nearly a decade, I'd say.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for some time.
Yeah. I've been in social media now since 2020. I think we've met, what was it, 7-8 months ago?
Yeah.
Just stayed in touch.
Give or such.
Yeah. So been around the block for a bit now. Before the AI, now after with AI and all that stuff. So yeah.
You built up a big audience online, but you've transitioned quite a lot over the years.
Yes.
What's been that journey like for you?
So a bit of a background of myself. So I started in the online world, as people say, with Amazon. Essentially, I was basically starting selling on Amazon myself. I was a recruitment consultant. Thought to myself, hey, do I want to do this for the next 20, 30 years? Hate my life, hate my job? No, I don't. And I thought, you know what? How about I just look for a business where I don't need to hire staff. I don't need to put in a lot of money. I don't need to get an expensive lease. Is there anything that I can do online potentially? And then I came across an ad basically that said, hey, you can buy products from China, bring them over to the UK or whatever country it is. You send them straight to Amazon's warehouse and you basically manage the process and make money after all the fees are paid. So we started doing that in 2018. We did well over the 7 years that we've been doing it. We've reached about 6-7 million in terms of revenue. And in 2020, I thought, well, when COVID hit, why don't I teach others potentially? So instead of just, going on to like Netflix and doing nothing with your time, I thought might as well help out people on YouTube mostly. And that's how it started. It started off really, really slow. I just literally put up my laptop, no camera, no nothing, just telling people how to do it. And then slowly but surely people started taking notice. They started asking me questions. They started saying, hey, can I book you in for an hour call, help me with my business and so on. I thought, okay, interesting. And then they paid me. £99 was the first call I did. I was like, oh, that was an interesting call. I just got paid for nothing and I get to keep all the money. And then slowly but surely that morphed into having a Amazon FBA mentorship business. That did really well. For 4 years, we managed to reach over 1 million in terms of revenue and mostly profit as well. And then last year, I decided to give all of that away, change my brand completely, and move into essentially helping online coaches start their own info businesses. Because what happened is that I realized how much opportunity there is when it comes to online coaching, personal branding, and just growing your own presence on social media. And here we are today.
So talk to us a little bit about this Amazon FBA journey, because it's interesting for me, because I looked at that as well back in the day and was like very tempted by it. I mean, it sounds great. Does it still work, and is it still something that people can get into?
Yes, it still works. It worked for me. It still works for me. We have now automated it to the point where I spend probably about 3-4 hours a week doing it. Everything else is being done by my team. For people who are just starting out, it still works, but it's a little bit more difficult than it was back in 2017-18 when people didn't really know about e-commerce as well as they do now.
Yeah.
Now we have the likes of TikTok Shop, Amazon, dropshipping, all that sort of stuff. So people are a little bit more educated and therefore the competition has risen. In the UK, it's nowhere near as hard as it is in America because you have tariffs. And
I was just about to ask, Chinese goods to American audience.
Yep, exactly. So one of my good friends who has done 20 million in terms of sales on Amazon in the US, one of his best performing products is basically a barbecue set, right? Really, really expensive and so on. And they are being sourced from China. And all of a sudden his cost of goods sold has jumped up by 170%. And on top of that, he's getting sued as well because somebody burnt themselves. So as you know, Americans like to sue. All of a sudden you go from a very well thriving business to all of a sudden potentially having the chance of closing down.
Yeah.
But that being said though, for somebody who is in a 9-to-5 looking to make a little bit of money and is serious about it, it's not easy, don't get me wrong. There is still a lot of opportunity out there if you're going to put in the time and the effort.
What's the core fundamental basics? You mentioned the sourcing of products and then obviously selling on Amazon, but how does that journey work?
So the journey is really actually quite simple. So you have millions and millions of products on Amazon. A lot of them are actually the same or similar. The key is to essentially find a product that people are not so happy with, that is slightly different, that's slightly better, unique, upgraded, whatever. So just to give you an idea, my very first product, bearing in mind, I've never done tanning before was a simple tanning mitt, right? Now, everyone in the market had a tanning glove, and that was it. And unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, a lot of people were basically unhappy that they can't tan their back. So I was like, okay, well, there's a problem here that we can potentially look to solve. So I looked into American marketplace and the Chinese marketplace, and there was a tanning mitt that was covering from this hand straight away to that hand. So you had like a whole thing connected, where you, without a partner, without anybody in the shower, can tan yourself. Small difference, nothing crazy, but it's enough of a differentiation for me to list that product on Amazon and start selling. This was my very first product. I know the numbers like the back of my hand. We were selling them for £9.99. We were buying them for £2.21. And after fees, we were getting £5.83.
Nice, per product. Right.
Yeah. So £5.83 take away £2.21. That's your profit. And if you sell 300-400 units a month, that's replacing minimum wage with one product within 2 months. And then you just scale up from there. And that's exactly what we did.
So then what about listing on Amazon? Because it's such a minefield, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. So when it comes to listing on Amazon, you really want to pay very close attention to the images more than anything, because we are very visual people. So if you were to sell a car or a house or anything, it's the images that we like look into first. And this is where the UK sellers really stand out, because they know what appeals to the UK market far more than the Chinese. But yeah, no, on top of that as well, SEO keywords used to be really important. However, now with the like of AI, if I were to sell this microphone, I'll put up an image of this microphone, the AI will be able to say that this is a microphone that I'm trying to sell. So the keywords are nowhere near as important as they used to be.
Reviews and stuff are?
Very, 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 very important, especially now with so many people scamming, etc. Putting a whole bunch of fake reviews, and there's been loads of newspaper articles, of firms flooding the market with reviews. You have to make sure that the reviews are genuine, ideally with an image, to make sure that it's a legit review. But yeah, they're very important.
I think the first time I came, obviously you've done Amazon and FBA, but you've done so many other things as well. You tested so many different online business models.
Yes.
I mean, you did that. I think the first time I ever saw you was you did this, I think it was the A to F of side hustles.
Side hustles, yep.
Which is like we all did that in the end, the traffic light thing.
It worked.
It worked. It really worked.
Yep.
But in your opinion, if someone's sitting there and looking at Amazon FBA like as a potential side hustle or job replacement eventually, like is that your favorite still, or is there other models which you think that people should look at?
So that is one of the reasons why I believe I now moved away from Amazon and moved more into the online coaching space. So, and I'll give you 2 reasons for it. Number one, when it comes to Amazon, after all the fees and everything, I'll just be dead honest with you, the profit margin is around 20 to 30%, depending on time of the year, depending on the product. And secondly, you require to manage suppliers, to put a lot of money in the very beginning. You have to wait. Like, for example, if I buy a product today, money comes out, it takes about 2 to 3 months for the product to come in, depending on the size of the product. Then who knows how long it will take for Amazon to sell it. And then it takes 2 weeks from Amazon to get it to you. So as of right now, we're in May. I'd probably see a return on my investment October, November, right? And so that's the first reason why I'm not sure if Amazon is
with
the
loads
best.
Of risk and variables.
Exactly. And then the second reason is why I moved away from Amazon is the fact that I just imagine talking about the same subject over and over again. Probably have an idea about what it feels like.
I get that.
Yeah, exactly. So after you've spoken about product research, speaking to suppliers, negotiating prices, creating your very first listing, PPC, I know it's like the back of my hand. 5 years in, you're just like, I don't care about the money anymore. I just want to evolve into something new, into something better, into something different. And this is where now I moved into the online coaching space, because I believe majority of the audience, yourself, many other people have got the knowledge in their head to turn it into a coaching business. I'm not a big proponent on schools and universities. Personally, it was a waste of time for me. However,
same here.
Yeah. However, I do believe that a lot of us have the experience that a lot of other people would pay money for. Useful experience, interesting, good experience that will help people's lives. And in that sense, from a business perspective, think about it. You are selling your information. There are no suppliers. There are no costs. Therefore, your profit margins are 90% plus. You can get paid pretty much as quickly as possible, as opposed to waiting 6 months. And it doesn't require any risk. Like, worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, okay.
And the more you know, the more you charge.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So in my opinion, is Amazon FBA a good model if you have no skills and no knowledge whatsoever? Yes, absolutely. However, now I believe more and more people should be going into social media. I've got now clients who was a UX designer, an e-commerce coach, a mail therapist, deal sourcing coach, Airbnb coach. Like all of these people have got these amazing skills and talents who are helping others, you know. So mental health, so many.
And what about someone that's like, because I've seen on your case studies, you've started with people that didn't have a coaching business before and they've started from zero.
Yeah.
So like, what about the recruitment consultant that was sitting there today and they're like, you know, fuck, that sounds so good, Ben. Like, I really want to do this online thing. What would you do with these guys in this case to kind of extract that knowledge out of them?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. In the very beginning, before thinking, oh, need to put this on a course, a landing page, start taking calls or anything like that. If you've never done social media before, the very first thing you need to do is just get comfortable in front of the camera. So when we get started, it's literally just speaking about how to speak in front of a lens. Because for most people, including myself, when I started, it felt like I was speaking to a microwave. Like, what is this? Like, I'm speaking, there's no one in front of you. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, you kind of get used to it. So in the very beginning, with those people that you just described, we just work on just say something and press upload, like baby steps. And then as you get more comfortable, as you start to see views coming in and comments, you get more brave, you get more, you know, in your own zone, so to speak, you develop a personality. That's when we start thinking, okay, what can we now provide to these people who are interested in what you've got to say?
When it comes to investing, it's hard to know where to start, especially when you're hit with conflicting information and jargon used by all of these financial institutions. So to help you get started, we've created a free investing guide, which you can grab in the show notes below. It's 10 steps, exactly what I would follow if I was getting started myself today. And it's really simple and easy to follow. So head down to the show notes below and grab your free investing guide today.
That's it.
So they look at what they like in terms of like establishing what they need to say. How are they going to extract
so
that?
For example, give me a job title.
This is a recruitment consultant.
Recruitment consultant. Well, recruitment consultant is sales, essentially. What's to stop you from helping university graduates improve on their sales skills?
Okay.
If you're a recruitment consultant, you could potentially do a course or one-to-one mentorship on how to write up your CV and how to land your very first job after university.
Nice. Okay, cool. We're getting somewhere.
As a recruitment consultant, you can potentially help, depending on how senior you are, how to climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Right. And all of these things is content. You can
or get a great job or like change careers. Or there's so many aspects,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
That's exactly right. So, yeah, I think most people don't realize how much knowledge they actually have from another person's point of view, because we're in it every single day and we're like, oh, there's a common sense. But to a lot of people, it's not. I was a recruitment consultant, so I know what a good CV looks like, but I also realize that most people don't.
Yeah.
And therefore, I can help them. I've got actually a great example. So one of my best performing clients ever, she was an English tutor, and she decided to help people on TikTok improve their GCSE English.
Okay.
She makes 140 grand a month.
A month? Wow.
Yeah.
By online tutoring?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Utilizing social media for lead flow.
Yeah, exactly. On top of that, you have the referrals base. On top of that, you now have results that my students on average get a 20% increase in grades. All of a sudden, the parents are interested. Next thing you know, you're living in Dubai.
Yeah, you're not marketing the kids, you market the parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all she does is two things: TikTok, YouTube, and
TikTok
has a
and YouTube.
beautiful laid out funnel. That's super simple, and a team of 9 people. Just a few years ago, she was an English tutor.
I love this. I love this. It's very
no
much
suppliers, no costs, nothing. Just what you know, English. Like it's not, it's not rocket science.
Well, she's doing it on a daily basis.
Exactly.
So if you're a teacher sitting there in geography, you could go and teach kids how to improve their geography grades.
Exactly.
Or there's so many other ways of that. Teaching people the ways of the different places of the world. You could even go into travel. And look at it like that.
100%.
You
100%.
understand the maps better than anyone else, or whatever that might be. Map reading, all of these things. There's so many cool things that you can explore. And this is why I say to people that when we do helping people grow on social media a little bit as part of our business, and what I always say to people is never discount what you've done. because it's all in there. You've been growing.
Of course.
You don't know when those things are going to come into play. You know, I was doing marketing for hospitality.
Yeah.
You know, has that helped my personal finance business? Absolutely.
Of course.
By the like tenfold,
Yep.
because I know about branding, I know about socials, I know about funnels, I know about lead flow.
But do you know that you know all those things? Did you realize?
I did when I sat down and wrote the business plan, because I'm like, okay, cool, because I can do that.
I know more than I thought.
Yeah, but then like, you know, it didn't take long for me to then reutilize those skills. But I suppose the transition for people is a lot simpler than it actually has to be.
Absolutely. One of my good friends who's into Legos, he's got a community that makes him about £15,000 a month because they discuss which Legos are going to come out, where to buy them, how collectibles, all that sort of stuff. Legos.
Yeah.
Legos. These are grown men as well. So I'm like, oh, is there a market? But turns out there's a massive one.
It's really interesting you say that, because one of our first people that we put through the program, he sells like high level collectibles. So like, you know, like the old school figurines of like Han Solo and this type of thing. His videos get like 500 to 1,000 views, but one sale for him is worth like 10 grand. So he's literally laughing. And sometimes he does 2-3 sales a month, and that's a business for him. And he does that on the side of his main business, where he does he's a professor of archaeology in the day. And like, how cool.
Absolutely.
Do you know, like, and to be able to do that.
And what I love about what you just said is the fact that he wasn't getting many views. A lot of people have this perception that you have thousands, millions of views in order to make money. I was making over 2 grand from my Amazon FBA mentorship business, and I had less than 1,000 subscribers. My views were 200 on video per video. So it doesn't really have to do with how many views you get. It's just how specific you are on the niche and the problem, and is there a market for it, which in most cases there is.
So let's say we're taking someone today. We'll do like a live example. Let's do this. It'll be fun, you know. So like, we've just taken this dude, recruitment consultant. He's going to teach university students how to do sales. Right. Shit. Now, Ben, I've got to sit down and like do this camera thing. You know, like where would I start thinking about ideas for content creation based on that problem?
The best thing you can do in the very beginning is just look what works. Look into the market. Look at the people who are ahead of you right now, and look at what kind of hooks are they using. Are they shooting straight to the camera? Are you talking head videos, or are they outside? What kind of topics are they covering? And just there's a fancy word for it, emulate, but I just like to say copy what works in the very beginning. As you continue to do so, you will get more comfortable in front of the camera. You will start developing your own voice, your own persona, your own characteristics, and then kind of move from there. Some people in the very beginning, they like to do free talking videos. Others like a script. So they put like a teleprompter in front of the camera and kind of go from there. There's pros and cons to both. But literally for somebody who's just getting started, it's just getting kind of comfortable in front of the camera. That's the first step. Once you get comfortable in front of the camera and you actually start getting some views and some interest and some comments, the most simplest thing you can do is just put up a Calendly link and say, hey, you need help, book a call. And then you start.
Monetize your time.
That's all it is. That's all it is. And in your example of recruitment consultant, £50 every weekend. Anybody that wants to have a chat with me for an hour, charge you £50 and kind of go from there. And then after that, you start seeing more and more lead flow coming in and so on. And you start noticing what problems most of your clients have. And then you start thinking, okay, what kind of product, what kind of service can I release to service the demand? Yeah. It's not rocket science.
No, it's not. It's not. But I think people get scared about that. And then they think about like, the 10 grand and I need to think of the whole like massive flow and deal funnel and all of this. And like, and it's like, becomes like, whoa, I don't have to do any of that.
100%.
Whereas you can start with baby steps. It's like, oh yeah, just put some, content up, Calendly link in your bio, start there. And then once you're on the way with that, because I see this as like, you get good at that thing. So let me now attack, how do I work out how to write a sales page or a funnel? Now I can get good at that.
And those are the people that I love working with the most, because in the very beginning, the people that have never done social media before, you're kind of like a confidence coach, boost their ego, tell them go ahead, etc. Whereas the people who already have spoken on social media and maybe made a few £100, now you're like, okay, you've got an audience, you've got an offer, you're clearly known in the market. If we just make this simple landing page, if we employ some AI and potentially some email marketing, we take you from 500 to 5,000 in a space of a month. I've got a great example, which I actually worked with not too long ago. An Amazon FBA coach, someone exactly like myself, was doing £4,000 a month, and every single one of his clients was on WhatsApp. I'm like, dude, how's your weekends? And he's like, I go to a restaurant with my parents. I go to the toilet and I look at, and it's just like messages on top of messages, people messaging me like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And the following month, once we reconstructed his offer, increased the prices, all that sort of stuff, he did 17,000. And he, most importantly, he got his life back. Like everything now was done in an email form, like where he says, hey, I will respond to you Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Right? So it goes from just like a little hobby currently here and there to all of a sudden a fully fledged business with high profit margins to all of a sudden you're like, do I need to do this 9 to 5 that I'm in anymore? Like I'm making more in a month than I did in half a year, right?
That's what's scary.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when we do our launches now, you know, it shocks me. I'm like, how is this possible?
Exactly.
But what it is a self-fulfilling machine,
Absolutely.
which is just churning and churning and churning. And the more content we put out,
exactly,
over time, trust builds, you know, and the audience goes into a mailing list. They go background, they come watch this podcast, they do, you know, YouTube mid-form, you know, and suddenly they spend hours and hours and hours with you. And when you release a product, which is still designed to help you, by the way, it's not like it's just a load of, we're not selling, you know, a big bag of
something
crap.
of value, because at the end of the day, your reputation is so important.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, we want to sell, like, this is the thing. We're not just peddling here. We're with you have to be able to deliver on the promise. Otherwise, no one's telling them, or you get a bad review or a bad rep online for being that guy. Everything we sell is like done with the goal of like, this is 100% going to help you.
Yeah. No,
like, and it's affordable and you can do it and it should take you from A to B.
Well, on that note, there are two things. So the first one is what people don't realize is that 99% of your audience watching your videos are what I call silent viewers. They almost likely not comment. They almost likely not like. They may not watch every single video, but when it comes to an offer, something interesting that they are they are much more compelled to buy. There are times where I literally like had somebody buy my mentorship and I'm like, oh, where did you come from? You know, how did you see my content, etc. It's like, oh yeah, I've been watching you for a year and a half. What?
Yeah.
Like a year and a half?
Yeah.
So it's you never know. Like people think, oh yeah, 100 views. That's 100 people that have seen your stuff.
You did it today or yesterday with the room that gets bigger and bigger and bigger by the number of views.
That's exactly right.
And it's wild, right? You know, you see 20,000 people. It's a stadium.
That's exactly right.
And people just think, oh, I got 20,000
because you compare yourself to somebody else and you're like, oh, it's not as good as his.
1 million views. Yeah. As we had this chat the other day, we were like, actually, we've stopped going for virality now. We don't want that because what it's done is it's skewed our audience.
Yeah.
And now we've got people that in there that want to know, you know, about debt and savings, and actually we want to be talking about investing. Yeah. And they're not ready for that yet. Yeah. So it's
I smile when you say that because I've made one of the biggest mistakes on social media when it comes to changing your audiences. So my TikTok was very, very slow, but it was very niche around Amazon FBA. And I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start broadening out a little bit. I'm going to start speaking about side hustles, etc. And I'm going to bring in more people into me, and then I'm going to educate them around Amazon, and then they're going to buy my mentorships. What happened is that did I get more people in? Yeah, absolutely. We went from getting 1,000 views per video to getting 100,000 views per video. There was a time where we gained 100,000 followers on TikTok in a week because of the subjects that I was talking about. The problem is that the audience went from a 25-year-old male, someone similar to myself who's potentially interested in buying Amazon mentorship, to a 15-year-old who wants to pay pocket money and would never even be allowed to set up a business in the first place.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're getting 500,000 views, but are they actually increasing your revenue? And the reality is it didn't. It actually made it worse. So views, as they say, are not created equal. If you're in the education space, the viewer is more important. If you're in the entertainment space, the views is more important. I think it's really important to have that distinction.
Yeah, and there is a business model with volume in there.
Absolutely.
If you're doing news or something along those lines, if you want to report on the latest news, etc., like you want 30 million views because you need people to come into to your world to be a part of your machine. So
but it's a different world. It's brands, it's ads, it's a completely different world. So, you know, Mr. Beast, he's entertainment and he's doing quite well for himself.
Yeah, totally. That's where, the 100 million views makes a big difference.
Exactly.
It's very, very difficult to get. I mean, I'd be very happy if I ever got to 1 million views on a video, but
it's a very odd. So I've calculated not long ago. I think we've got 40 videos over 1 million views on TikTok. And one of the weirdest encounters was, and I realized I was doing something wrong. I was doing my self-checkout in Asda, and a kid, 12-year-old kid with his mom goes, "You that side hustle guy, can I take a picture?" I thought to myself, you're not my target. Like, sure, but you're not my target audience exactly. And then I was just like, right, things need to change.
100%. 100%. Yeah. No, I agree. In terms of scale, then, what does that really look like for someone? So in terms that level of journey, so they've got this recruitment consultant. He's now in this stage. He started creating content. What does that journey look like for him in terms of scale, and how long does that roughly normally take? I know it's a very difficult question to answer.
That's a broad question to ask, but it depends on how much time they spend on social media. But in terms of the actions that usually tend to happen is in the very beginning, you just have one-to-one calls, mentorship, trying to figure out who your ideal customer is, what their problems are, and so on. Then after that, you can create a proper one-to-one mentorship for 3 months, 6 months, a year. You have a nice landing page that will outline exactly what kind of problems you will help them with. On top of that as well, you start email marketing as well, because I don't know how much you know about email marketing. It is ChatGPT this. It is still by far the best platform to convert viewers into customers. It actually is better 5 times than any other social media platform, including LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Email marketing is completely slept on. So we get the landing page, we get the email marketing, we have a lead magnet in order to get more emails, and we start increasing our revenue from £2,000-3,000 a month to about £15,000-20,000. Once we get past the £20,000 a month, then we can start looking into getting a closer and an appointment setter. Basically 2 people who will help nurture the audience and push calls that you can do yourself, or one of them can do it for you. So you're essentially starting to automate the whole process, where you only have to teach what you know, and the whole sale aspect is being done by somebody else. So every single day is the same. You market yourself, you create content, and you help the students. That's it. Everything else gets done. And that's from 20, you get up to about 100. Once you get, maybe not 100, maybe like 80 to 100. Once you get to 100, then you can start running ads and going into a much, much colder audience worldwide. But that requires a lot more investment.
You know, like that scale end. Is there a limit to how much you can earn?
There are creators right now that I know who are making $600,000 a month.
Wow. What kind of products are they selling to do that?
Ironically, how to become better on YouTube. How to speak, basically how to create.
Is this your Ed Lawrence's and people like that?
Great example, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He's one of them. Yeah, he's. I think he's done so far this year over like 2 million or something as well in the month of May.
Yeah.
So,
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
And this is info-based coaching businesses.
Even a better example, Alex Hormozi. So I went to one of his seminars, so to speak, which is basically like a workshop.
Vegas ones.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I had to pay $5,000. There was 100 people there. And then after that, we were upsold his classroom, essentially, which is a day with him in a smaller group setting, for $15,000. I'd say 1/3 of the people signed up to that. Now, when you do the math, $500,000, $5,000
straight away,
and then 15 times 30% of that, that's another 600, something like that, right? You bring that two together on a monthly basis, you get paid over $1 million with next to no costs.
So that's 15 million a year if he does it, once a month.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus everything else, which could then lead from that as well, the one-on-one aspect and etc. And then it goes even further, right? So there's levels and phases to it. Absolutely. Obviously, Hormozi's top of the food chain. And
well, see, the thing is, I also believe, I don't know, you may disagree with this. I believe how much you'll be paid has got very little to do with what you know. It has a lot more to do with how many people know you. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example. If Alex Hormozi made a story and he said, hey, tomorrow Calendly link is open, one-to-one calls, $20,000 each. I'm pretty sure he would sell out like this. Mm-hmm. Now, question is he the best business coach in the world? Probably not. There are Fortune 500 companies, billions and billions in assets, that probably would give you just as valuable advice. But they can't charge the prices that Alex Hormozi is charging because, well, they're not as well known.
Yeah.
Right? So
another one that's interesting for me is like Myron Golden. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Myron Golden, brilliant on YouTube, incredible. Yeah. He has a day that costs $1 million. Yeah. And,
but it's only because he's well known.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's all about who knows you as opposed to how much you actually know.
And this is obviously the top end of the food chain. Yeah. They've worked years to get them to this point, but that's the possibility of scale with this. Yeah. It's essentially consistency, showing up, and making sure you're delivering value to the people so they just continually talk about you, right?
Exactly. But what's also interesting is that Alex Hormozi, Iman Ghazi, and many others worked in the shadows for years. Nobody knew about them, and all of a sudden they just pop out of nowhere.
No, Iman had that social media agency that struggled to make ends meet.
8 years ago, I think he started his social media.
Yeah, 17 or something, wasn't it?
Exactly. So for that long to be doing, and all of a sudden they spike up out of nowhere. So for anyone who's just starting out and you're not getting results in the first month or so, like, this is nothing. Like,
yeah, totally.
You know, like, it's okay. And obviously this is where I come in to kind of speed up the process and speed up to your learning curve. But these things take time.
I love your content because it's really open and like there's always value from it as well. Like you're giving the source away in a lot of things, and you're giving people the opportunity to like take something from your content as like, I can actually go and implement that today. And then, oh, wow, because Ben told me that. Now I can trust him and I might need him for this. And that's a really smart play. Have you ever felt like investing is only for the experts? Well, with Trading 212, that couldn't be further from the truth. They've made it their mission to democratize investing. So now anyone can start building their financial future, regardless of experience or their budget. Their Stocks and Shares ISA is packed with benefits, no platform fees, industry low FX fees, and access to thousands of investment options from ETFs and funds to individual stocks. Plus, the app is so user-friendly, you can start investing with just a few taps. But what really sets Trading 212 apart is how they're FCA regulated and offer clients' funds FSCS protection. So while your investments can go up or down, you know that they're held in a safe, secure environment. And right now, there's never been a better time to join. Trading 212 is giving you a free fractional share worth up to £100 when you open an account and deposit just £1. To claim your free share, click the link in the show notes below or enter the promo code MGP when you sign up. That's MGP when you sign up. As always, remember your capital is at risk when investing. ISA rules, T's and C's, and other fees may apply. If you've ever wanted to start investing but didn't know where to begin, Trading 212 is here to make it super simple. Start your investing journey today and see where it can take you. And now back to the episode.
I also think when it comes to information, I used to believe, again, you can disagree, it's all about value, right? And I changed my opinion about that just a few months ago, because if I just provide value, let's say I'm in your niche, right? And I provide value about personal finance. Why would somebody pick from me as opposed to you or somebody else? The reality is because of personality. So you need to have your story and personality in the mix. If you just give out value all the time, you're not giving people a reason to buy you, know you, trust you.
Totally.
Right? So I now start to slowly move my content more about like my own personal story. Like how I literally, before the podcast started, how I came from rough background, right? How, so ex-Soviet Union, you know, and all that sort of stuff. What's going on in my daily life, what my struggles are, that bringing in that authenticity, so to speak. And people really resonate with that. Like I did an email not long ago, you know, most people do emails to sell. I did an email saying, hey, I'm going in for back surgery. And so many people responded like, hey, fingers crossed, hopefully it all goes well, etc., etc. It humanizes you a lot more as opposed to just the value guy.
Yeah.
You know, big difference.
We try and do that a lot in our stories as well. It's like that connection with the audience.
Exactly.
This is who I am. This is what I'm up to this weekend. And it's like fed into value and sometimes call to actions to get the lead magnets or whatever they might well be. So it's not always just like take. Yeah. Even so, the lead magnets are still valuable, but they're like, it feels like that to the audience. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're like just constantly being like, download this thing.
Exactly.
Like, oh, fuck off. You know?
That's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. So it comes to that. Obviously, you've done extremely well in business.
Okay. I hope so. But yeah.
I think you've done well.
Okay.
Like,
thank you.
You know, you created a brilliant community course. You've pivoted. You've been through all of the pain. You've gone out the other side and now working on something which you're really passionate about. You can see it in your content. 100%. It's amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of what you do with, let's say you're taking some of the profit off the table in your own personal finance world, obviously you're running a business. What's your process look like to perhaps reinvest some of those profits as well?
So first of all, when it comes to personal finance, there are a couple of things. Number one, I don't think you should be, you'll probably disagree with this. I don't think you should be investing anything into an index fund, crypto, property, whatever, unless you have got 6 figures liquid. And by that I mean is that you should be focusing more on how much income you're generating as opposed to your net worth. Because let's say you have $2,000 a month job, you put in £500 into an S&P 500. By the end of 12 months, okay, you probably made a 10% on £6,000, £500. Congratulations. But if you actually focused on improving your skills and leveling up and so on, and you can go from making £2,000 a month to £10,000 a month. And I think that will speed up your journey so much faster. And then when you have 6 figures and you have nothing to do with that money, which rarely happens, then you can start investing into the things that you know the best, right? So I can never give somebody advice and say, hey, invest into crypto, gold and houses, all that sort of stuff. I think all of those instruments have their place and they can work, but it really depends on which one do you prefer the most, which one are you mostly interested in, and so on. For example, for me, I like to invest in blue chip stocks because I just I'm interested in them, what's going on in the American markets and so on. Other people say, hey, investing into property is so much better, but I have no interest in it. Right? I have no interest in it. I don't know how it works. I'm not good at it, etc. So why would I invest into something that I don't really know because somebody else has said to me? Right? Yeah. That's number one. Number two, I also believe try and invest back into your business as much as possible. So if you're going to go down the social media route, maybe invest into a thumbnail designer, video editor, dialect coach. Work on your body language as you're speaking. That will increase your income, and therefore you then get more money in order to invest to whatever things you want to do. So that's my best advice, to be honest. I'm not one for they say hashtag not personal advice, but this is what I would do if I were to start all over again.
It's interesting you say that. I do totally see your point. There is a lot more value in increasing your income and investing in yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to bring the bacon home no matter what. I think it is still, the only thing I would disagree with the touch there is it's still good to get that £50 away or that £100 away. Because you can just set that up once and automate it, right?
You can, absolutely you can. It's just so slow. Let's be honest, it's so slow.
Oh yeah.
It's so slow. So it's right, 100%. Well, it's not just about money, it's also speed of money. If I invest 1,000 into an index fund, or if I invest 1,000 into a video editor and therefore make my videos better and therefore get more clients, where's the better ROI? In my opinion, in most cases, the ROI is going to be better on the second option.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
That's why I actively reinvest most of everything we do back into the business.
Yeah.
Surplus cash gets put into the investments. And that's,
surplus cash, yes. Yeah. But people who are just starting out, they have a lot to invest into and they don't have that much surplus cash.
Best thing is to do yourself.
Exactly.
No, I agree. 100% agree with you there. Yeah. I just think that some people, a lot of people listening to this won't ever make that jump of investing into themselves, and they'll be happy in their corporate role.
Yeah.
And so you need to do something.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I agree with you there, because a lot of people don't have the financial discipline. So when you have a standing order coming out of £100, £200 each and every single month and you don't even see it, it's just okay, well, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
So yeah. I guess it doesn't apply to me because I'm a big saver. But to a lot of people, we'll just spend it on the night out and stuff and therefore not have anything to invest.
Yeah, no, totally. So, but you're right. We had Rob Dix on, personal finance author, wrote a brilliant book, but he brought up this thing called the 3 buckets of wealth. And number one is that security element. So that, that liquid cash, essentially you need to have that. But once you've done that, it's done. You're not going to touch it unless your roof caves in.
Yep.
Number 2 is the index funds investments. That's your compound machine.
Yep.
Again, automate it, 5 minutes, job done, see you in a bit. Then bucket number 3 is the aspiration, which is the investing into yourself. It's the, brilliant stock pick, which is going to skyrocket because you put the time and research, you put the 5 hours into researching it. It's undervalued.
Exactly.
Some insights that somebody else has don't know. That's the aspiration bucket. But the large part of that aspiration bucket is massively increasing your income by investing into yourself, whether that's to raise yourself up the corporate ladder or by starting your own thing and doing that, because that's going to bring the exponential income, which is then going to feed that compounding wheel as well.
That's so true. Yeah. And it depends on people's situations and their priorities. If you're living under a bridge, probably savings is the number one thing you need to, look into.
Absolutely.
If you're making 100 grand, 200 grand, and you've got 100 in savings, then maybe investing into an index fund or somewhere else then makes sense. So it's a really case by case basis, to be honest.
How are you using AI at the moment to integrate into your content flow, and equally as well for someone that's sitting here thinking that, the recruitment consultant there that's like, that sounds like fun, but I want to go and build out an idea. Can I use ChatGPT to help me with that?
Yeah. So I used to use ChatGPT for scripting quite substantially. However, I realized it completely took away the character, the personality away from me, and I started sounding like ChatGPT. So you have to be really careful with using too many AI tools. The ones that have worked the most that come to mind are two, and then you'll have to ask my video editor for more. The first one is ManyChat. You probably have heard of it. Yeah. So for people that don't know, it's basically you DM a certain word and then it will initiate a sequence of messages on your Instagram. It will soon be released.
See our flows, man. Oh, you'd be impressed.
I love them.
They go for ages.
A good flow. Yeah. So and that will soon be released on TikTok, from what I heard as well, which would be very, very good.
Yeah.
So ManyChat is a must in my opinion. And then second one is Opus Clips. I don't know if you know.
Opus Clips are incredible. Yeah.
Exactly. So that one as well works for us really, really well. Apart
is that
from
to
that,
cut your long form?
Yeah. So it basically checks the hook and everything, and it will, like, for example, this podcast, it could literally chop up the best bits, and therefore you can upload it within minutes.
I still find it tiny bit misses the mark a little bit.
Yes, sometimes, yes, but you can get quite a few good clips that actually are quite good. AI is a tool. It doesn't replace people. It just helps them make their job easier, more efficient, is what I found. And to be completely honest, by the time this podcast is released, there might be new AI
Brand
tools.
New AI
so
tools.
it's so hard to give advice on that.
Totally, man.
So yeah.
Look, I use ChatGPT every day. It's my 10%. It's also my little, like, here is my whole idea.
Yeah.
I've done the work.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Am I missing anything?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like, and I'm like, that's so good.
Yeah.
And it's just the one line.
Absolutely.
Is it the rest of what it tells me? I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then I'm like, that is a banger. I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And then it 2x's the value of what I can put out.
Exactly.
So I think that's where I say to people, it's my extra 20% to make me 120%.
Very good.
And
point.
like that's the way I integrate it. If you start to think, you're like, I am a recruitment consultant, tell me a business idea, you're using it very wrong.
Yeah. That being said, though, I'm a little bit concerned of what it does to us as a society, because we're now getting dependent more and more onto it. I'm very weird, but in my spare time, I used to like to play Sudoku. Now, in easy mode, I can finish it in 3.5 minutes. Haven't played it for a year. Just started playing it again. I can't break under 10.
Wow.
And I'm like, what happened?
Screen time.
It's not screen time. It's just basically because we're using less and less what we have in our brains, and we're just relying so much on ChatGPT that all of a sudden all these mental puzzles, mental acuity, all of a sudden starts to drop. So I'm very curious to know how damaging ChatGPT is to the human brain, because we're using it less and less. And you know what they say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
100%.
So we'll see.
I agree. So looking ahead, what's a big trend that you're focusing in on? Like, what are you looking at right now in the market and thinking, that's exciting, I'm definitely going to be looking at that as to grow my online business?
Just literally doing what I'm doing, basically helping online coaches make more money, because I think there's now a growing sentiment that, hey, paying £9,000 a year for a university degree won't get me the results that I want. Going to school, besides read and write, I don't need to learn about Irish history, which I did. Because my teacher was Irish, didn't use it once. So I think there's a growing sentiment that, hey, if you really want to learn life skills, you may have to learn it from somebody who's been there and done that. And that market is where it's growing, in my opinion. It's the easiest business that one could set up. Besides that, AI, for sure, is going to be here. It's going to be here to stay. But in terms of AI, I'm looking kind of like telling my team, okay, what can we do to improve and make it better? But also I'm looking like into the stocks like Nvidia and all of those sort of places, because that's where the money is at as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Ben, I've absolutely loved this, man. It's been good fun.
It's been a lot of fun, yeah. And the time has gone very fast.
I know. Yeah, no, it really has. Because I was really looking forward to talking to you, because I geek out on this stuff like all day long. And I was saying to Chris as well that you were coming on. He's a big fan of yours, by the way. He's in my team. And, I talk about personal finance and the front end all day long.
Yeah.
But actually on the back end, 97% of the time, we're talking about this type of stuff and growing the businesses and, should we change that ManyChat flow or is that word a power word? Is it going to, and all of these things. And like, this is what I really geek out on.
Yeah.
So to have this type of conversation, I don't have it often. And so, yeah.
You get to really nerd into which ManyChat automation works better, which sales copy works better, which lead magnet is going to be better. Did this video get me more clicks? Did this video get me more clicks?
Exactly,
the list goes on and on.
And it's fun.
It's so much fun. But in the very beginning, like, I just want to make sure like people understand that you don't have to complicate it. Like, with the stuff that we're talking right now is slightly further along. In the very beginning, start posting. Just start posting and have a Calendly link, and then let's see what happens.
Totally.
That's all.
Yeah, and be prepared to do it for 12 to 18 months without seeing nothing from it.
Or sign up with me and do it in 6.
There's the plug. All right, dude, on that note, where can people find you then?
Ben Alistor, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, pretty much every platform out there, to be honest.
We'll link up in the show notes below. And yeah, definitely go check out Creator Coach or Business. We're good. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me, honestly.